Hello, guys, and welcome to today's IncrediChat. Michael Gracia. Mike Lopez will not be joining us, but we got a really fun night tonight. It's going to be a Doctor Who night. So for all you sci-fi fans, all you Whovians, we got a couple of great guests. The first guest I'm going to bring on is Shirley Hott, the owner of the Pandorica Restaurant in Beacon, New York. And I'm going to bring Alisa Stern, who is the creator and animator on Dr. Puppet. So, hello, Shirley, and hello, Alisa.
Hi.
How you guys doing tonight?
Great.
That's great. Thank you for coming on. I've been wanting to have both of you on for a while now. Alisa, you and I have talked a few times trying to get stuff on, and you got two of your puppets right there.
The rest are
and
all them back there on that shelf. But
all them back there.
it's easier. I only have two hands, so I start with two.
I understand. So just for the people watching, don't forget, feel free to comment, ask questions. I think, we're going to talk a few things. Before we get into Doctor Who and how your fandom started, I want to talk about PandoriCon. PandoriCon was supposed to be part of IncrediCon this year. We were going to have a 2-day show at up in Fishkill. And because we had to cancel IncrediCon, PandoriCon got canceled. Shirley, you were going to be running PandoriCon. You want to talk a little bit about what was happening and what was going to go on?
Well, sadly, yes, we did lose that, but I understand we have it again for next end of March, same time.
That's
hopefully, I don't know who our celebrity guest will be next year. This year it would have been Russ Mullen, who played the Silence, and also the Teller, and a few other characters, and those in Doctor Who, but he also played in Game of Thrones. He played White Walker. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, and I don't know if he'll make it next year, but we'll have someone just as good. Alisa was going to be there, right, Alisa? We were going to have a lot of vendors. We had a whatchamacallit, a TARDIS kind of game area that we were doing, that Lee Starshine was doing. She's a big fan, and she had put together the Tarcade. And it was just going to be fun. There was going to be music. Cat Smith was coming up. We were going to have panels. All of that will be repeated next year. Yes. The only difference being that possibly our celebrity guest will be an alternate.
And that's understandable. And Alisa, you were supposed to be a guest there, and you were going to be now. Let me ask you, when you do shows, because your stuff is animation, do you just kind of show the figures, or do you have stuff to sell?
I have buttons and postcards and stuff. I tend to put them all out on a table, so they're very impressive when they're all lined up. I mean, I never get to see them because that's them. They're little coffins over there, so that's where they live all the time on that shelf. So I don't see them very often. So it's always nice when I go to a convention or an event. I have these little stands somewhere on that shelf that they all screw into the stands because they're stop motion puppets, of course. Yeah. They have holes in the bottom of their feet, so that's how they stand. They don't stand on their own. That's the trick. Whenever you see a stop motion puppet in almost anything, if they're standing, there is actually a screw underneath the table that goes up into their foot. So I have a special stand that has screws underneath, and I lay them all out. Well, not lay, they stand. They're all in a row. Looks very cool. And then I screen stuff when I have the ability to do that at a convention. It's always nice. At this point, well, we're done shooting Dr. Puppet, so I guess it'll be this way for the foreseeable future. It's about 45 minutes when I play all of the episodes back to back, which is pretty. I mean, as you know, as an animator, 45 minutes is
stop motion is insane.
I mean, that includes credits, but it's It's a lot. I mean, and I'm not the only person who made Dr. Puppet. It's truly a group project. I started it. It was like my brainchild, but it wouldn't have become the thing it became if I couldn't rope some friends into it. So, there's mainly two other animators, Aaron and Rachel, who made it possible. So we animated that in my previous apartment. This is my new apartment. I actually ended up moving into this apartment the weekend that PandoriCon would have happened. So I was able to move that weekend when it got canceled, that I could reschedule my move, and that became the move weekend. I moved into this new place where I have a dedicated animation studio in my apartment, which I did not have when I made Dr. Puppet. I made that in my living room of my previous apartment in New York City.
Wow.
I know. So now I got the room, but haven't made any Dr. Puppet in here yet, but maybe we'll see what happens.
So, I'll tell you my quick story about how I got into Doctor Who, but I want to hear your stories too. For me, I had a friend who was obsessed with Doctor Who. Like, I'd go over his house, let's watch Doctor Who, and he's talking about I'm talking old stuff when we were like teenagers. And I just couldn't get into the British, the way it was taped back then in the old days. But then the Paul McGann one came out in like 94, 95, whatever year that was. And I sat down and watched it. I'm like, this is a really interesting concept. But that's all they ever made. And then whatever happens when they released the new stuff, when it started, 2005, I caught that, I think, on the Sci-Fi Channel before they stopped airing it. And then it came back for me on Netflix. And that's how I caught up and was able to follow it on BBC America. But I thought, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, Netflix was absolutely a huge, that enabled me as well. Like, I think for Americans, when the explosion of Netflix kind of coincided with Matt Smith, really, they kind of was around the same time. And it really, that was when Doctor Who exploded in America. For sure.
And so,
and then it went up.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Shirley?
It was getting really big.
Yeah.
Netflix took it off.
Yeah, but they moved it, it to Amazon, and it was free on Amazon up to a point.
HBO Max.
Up until April. Yeah. And then it's now on HBO Plus.
Yeah.
So the new one, new streaming service.
So let's go with Shirley first.
At least you can still find it.
Yeah. How did you get into Doctor Who? What was your first experience with it?
My first Doctor was William Hartnell, number 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I saw from the very first episode. I loved it, don't get me wrong, but when Patrick Troughton came as second Doctor, I really loved it. That's when I was totally hooked. And then I left him. I left him in England, and I came to America, and there was no Doctor Who. And I left him in the middle of a story arc, the lost episodes of the Yeti in the Underground, those lost episodes. And finally they redid them. They got them back. They remastered them a little bit. But I caught up again the movie that Paul McGann did, which was a pilot for the new series.
Yes.
Which never came to fruition. And then again, caught it. Didn't know it came back like you guys. I did not know it came back on the Sci-Fi Channel. So I didn't find it until 2013. And then I started binge watching. And I started with the 11th Doctor, not the 11th, I started with Matt Smith, and then I went backwards.
Okay.
And then I got current again. And it's all because of that I created Pandorica.
Wow.
Because of binge watching.
We're going to talk about your restaurant, because I've actually been there and I had a fantastic time. But first, let's hear from Alisa. What was your intro?
Yeah, I mean, mine came later. I did not know about Doctor Who when I was a kid because, I grew up in the 90s. So it was not, even the movie did not cross my radar, which is a shame because I think I would have really liked it when I was a kid because I liked a lot of old television. Like, I basically, even though I was a 90s kid, I grew up on shows from the 50s and 60s and 70s. Like, I basically only watched Nick at Night and stuff like that. I have absolutely I cannot tell you a thing about Full House, or I don't even know what were the big 90s shows. I was not watching them, so I don't know them. So I love old TV, so I feel kind of like it's a shame I didn't find it. But I did find it eventually. So for me, it was actually my first animation job, which is, weird that it would come really full circle for me with Doctor Who and animation. So my first like full-time animation gig was doing background design for the Wonder Pets on Nick Jr. Really popular show. That was in 2008. So I was working there, and a bunch of my coworkers were really into Doctor Who, and a few of them had the action figures on the desk. And I didn't really know anyone at this job. I sort of knew one person, but so it was kind of like a way to like talk to my coworkers and be like, so who is this character? And I remember one of them, he would constantly like change the wallpaper on his computer to different David Tennant episodes. So watching it was a way for me to have a conversation with some of my new coworkers. So it's really their fault. So I started watching it, and that was around when Netflix, it was DVD only. So I remember having the DVDs. So it was 2008, 2009, watching the DVDs. And I remember when Matt Smith was announced. So he was kind of my first Doctor, but even though it was David Tennant, like it was Matt Smith because he was the first new one. But I did start with Rose, so I watched through, and then I remember I think the first live episodes I watched were the David Tennant specials right before Matt Smith started.
Okay.
So yeah, Matt Smith was always really special for me for that reason. And I have gone back and watched Classic Who, but I have not seen all of it. I have a ways to go there, but and Dr. Puppet started in 2012, so it was only like 4 years to get to the point.
It's funny how Doctor Who really pulls people in. I mean, Shirley, you created the Pandorica Restaurant from there. You created Dr. Puppet. Just a little side story. I remember my wife asking me, why are you like watching this constantly on Netflix? And I told her one day, I had to go to work one morning, and she was working from home or she took the day off, something. I said, watch the first 3 episodes. And this was the Eccleston stuff. I said, go back to the beginning, watch. And if you do not like it, I will never mention Doctor Who to you again. I came home, she was on like episode 7 or 8. And she just kind of, I binged it with her throughout the whole time. And then we just caught up, So I think it's interesting how it's a worldwide phenomenon. So many people connect to it. I think, I'm not going to say there's more fans than Star Wars, but I think it makes people connect with it more than people connect with a show like Star Wars or Star Trek or even Stargate that Shirley and I were talking about, because that's my all-time favorite science fiction is Stargate. But Doctor Who is like the second, and anytime it's on, I mean, although I'll be honest, I haven't finished this new season yet. I'm like 3 or 4 episodes behind, but that's due to mostly scheduling. But yeah, so I think it's interesting how you guys have kind of built something based off of fandom that is just truly loved all over the world. You don't see that type of stuff happening too often. Shirley, why don't you tell us first a little bit about the Pandorica Restaurant, and then I want to share my experience with you, which I don't know if I've ever did, but I'll tell you my experience at your restaurant.
Well, I started the restaurant not really to be a Doctor Who themed restaurant. I started simply as renovating it from the tea room because the whole area had changed, and a tea room is not what my style, my Victorian English tea room was not what the neighborhood was looking for at this point. And that's who I was. So I didn't know where to go. I said, I'm just going to modernize it. And it was at that time that I was binge watching Doctor Who, and I noticed that the structure of my bathroom looked like the TARDIS. So I asked a friend of mine, we have a lot of artists in Beacon, and I asked an artist friend of mine if he could just transport the door into the TARDIS and make it look like it was the TARDIS. And he did. He didn't know what I was talking about. I had to show him small models of it, pictures online, things like that, because he was not a Doctor Who fan. But he did a phenomenal job on the door. And because at that point I was watching on Hulu, I was just going to put a little arrow in my hallway and call it the Hulu. And that way it would be a little homage, and I love my puns, so I thought how cool that would be. But he started telling people what he was doing. And a lot of people started to come in to see the work that he was in the middle of and talking to me about Doctor Who and how much they loved it and how much they watched it with their family. And I had no idea. I was just watching it by myself on my computer. So when I heard that, I said, okay, I'll do a little bit more and I'll change the name, and I chose the Pandorica simply because it's subtle. People who are Doctor Who fans know exactly what Pandorica is. People who are not just think it's a pretty word. So I could keep it at being subtle to those that didn't know. And everything that I put into it, the decor, if you didn't know it was Doctor Who, you wouldn't know it was Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So that my regular customers would not be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And we grew out of that. We just added more and more decor. And wonderful.
It's a fantastic place. One of the things I like, not just about the decor in there, but what's really nice is you had someone make prop replicas from the show, and you see really cool stuff. Food is fantastic. But what I really enjoyed was when I walked in, I'll be honest, I had to run to the bathroom. When I came out, though, my wife said, what Doctor Who episode do I want to watch? And I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, they asked me what Doctor Who episode I wanted to see, and she couldn't think of one. So I said, okay, because this is my favorite episode, and I'm blanking on the exact title. A Good Man Goes to War, I think is the title of it. That's like my all-time favorite episode. So that was on, and what I found interesting is the waitress there who was serving us didn't get up to that episode, so she wasn't sure if she wanted to watch it or not, but she was really intrigued by what was going on. It was just fun because you were able to talk. Everyone there is just Doctor Who fans, super friendly. I mean, I keep Doctor Who with me everywhere I go. I got my exploding TARDIS blanket right behind me on my chair. So I think that's fantastic. And right now, you're doing curbside pickup with the restaurant, correct?
Well, currently, after Memorial Day, I closed so that I could concentrate on getting the restaurant in shape for the actual reopening, which should be probably around July 4th weekend.
Okay.
So that I could, code and bring in everything that was needed to make it safe for everybody and not have to worry about timing and dodging in and out with takeout and curbside. And so I decided to suspend that until I had everything in order for us to actually do the opening. Okay. And we're doing a big cleanup job, and we're replacing a lot of our tables to make them more sanitary, getting new items in, and just cleaning and making sure everything is going to be healthy and safe for everyone.
Yeah. When things open up, may I finally go to your restaurant, because I live in New York City. I grew up not too far away from Beacon and just have never managed to go, but I never leave the city unless I'm visiting my parents. So
it's hard. You would love Beacon.
I know.
You would just love Beacon.
I know all the weird little artists. Like there's probably 5 clones of me already living there. That's where all my friends that are like buying houses and moving out of the city, that's where they're going.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful town up there. I'll be honest, it's hard for me to get up there. I live in Yonkers. It's hard for me, but my nephew is a musician. He was playing near there. So I told my wife, let's go up early so we can make an effort to go eat at this restaurant before, because how often do we get up there? So that was the reason I was able to go. But we've been talking about it every now and then. It's like, we need to get back up. We need to get back up. It's just really fun. By the way, for those watching, down at the bottom is how you can find the Pandorica Restaurant. You can find it on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Pandorica Restaurant, or find it at PandoricaRestaurant.com, and you could see images, their menu, although no food right now. So, but it is, if you're a doctor.
A lot of the.
I'm sorry. What?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
A lot of the food is named after characters in the show or races in the show. So we've got a few puns in there. Some of them, are a little bit Easter egg style. So you might have to figure out exactly what that means, but that's the fun part. That really, and then coming up with new items to put on there. A new monster shows up. It's like, well, how can I include that? Bill Potts showed up. I gave her own chips corner. So we have so many things now with French fries. So, so yeah, so stuff coming up that we're trying to use and incorporate. So that's fun.
We got a comment from Martin then who says I still have to get there. So
Me too.
Follow the restaurant on the social media sites I just gave, and you'll find out when Shirley's opening again. And make sure to take a trip there. It really is a fantastic spot. Well,
our anniversary, we opened 7/7/14. So our 6th anniversary is coming up. We hope to be open that week. We are going to try and see if we can put on some kind of event with social distancing. So it's something, if you're there eating, this event will be happening. It's not like it's going to be crowded space or anything, but probably something cosplay related.
Cool.
So we'll see. Just working on that too.
So, Alisa, you created Dr. Puppet out of this, which I've watched every episode that you have on YouTube. I love them. And I'm not going to pull them up right now. If you want, we can pull just to show the YouTube page in a bit. But so you talked about how you got into Doctor Who. And obviously, from the way it sounds, Matt Smith's your doctor for the most part.
He was my first one. I truly connected with Peter Capaldi in the 12th Doctor. He's my guy. I honestly just really love Peter Capaldi because he's it's the weird artist doctor. I can't not be into this. The moment, the first episode he was introduced, Deep Breath. Me and Aaron and Rachel, actually, all three of us who, were the primary animators in Dr. Puppet, we were at the premiere in Manhattan with Peter Capaldi was there and saw Deep Breath for the first time. And, he had the chalk. And I remember coming out of the theater and I turned to Aaron and I was like, he has chalk, he draws. So I was like we were both freaking out and we immediately were like, exposition for Dr. Puppet. He can draw now. And we used the hell out of that in Dr. Puppet. But Aaron feels the same way. We kind of became like the Peter Capaldi fan club during Dr. Puppet. So it's weird because even though Dr. Puppet primarily follows Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi was the doctor during the majority of Dr. Puppet because Dr. Puppet started in 2013, which was the animation part of it really was 2013, which was Matt Smith's last year. Peter Capaldi started in 2014, and we did Dr. Puppet between 2014 and 2018. So 4 of those years. Yeah. This guy.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt.
I just love him. I could talk about Peter Capaldi for hours. No offense to the other doctors. But
no. I've always said Matt Smith is my favorite. I just feel he brought a comedic, like a physical comedy that wasn't there before, and that's what I like. We got a comment from 2 comments from Don Smith. The first one is for Shirley that says, "I bet they have dialect innards Jello for dessert." Is that coming on the menu? Probably not. I don't know if you can.
I'm having trouble hearing.
Oh, okay.
So.
I'm sorry. Can you see the comment Don Smith wrote there?
Check them.
It says, "I bet they have dialect innards Jello." Yeah, I'll put it up on the screen so you can see.
I cannot see live. I can't see. Oh, wait. No, we don't have. No, we don't have Dalek innards for dessert. We do have one of our specials is a souffle rice pudding. So it's Clara's souffle rice pudding. We also have bread pudding, Fish fingers and custard, of course, dessert style and as an appetizer. So you have a choice of real fish or fish sticks made with French toast for dessert, both with real custard. So yeah, there's lots of themed, but nothing Dalek yet. It's a little difficult to do that. You know, we've got Madame Vastra, alligator. We have Satan's pit of pierogies because they're spicy. We've got Slovene chili because of the effect that chili has on you. Sam Sparrow duck salad because, you know, duck. And all sorts of little things like that. There's more. Yeah. There's more. But, you know, you have to come and see it or look at our website. You'll see what we have.
And Don also says the 8th is the best Doctor. I mean, people can argue that. I'm like I said, Matt Smith. He also said, and this goes to you when you were saying that you were kind of like geeking out or whatever. What artist or animator isn't weird?
It's true.
I mean,
I relate.
You kind of have to be.
I can't relate to Matt Smith. He's like a football playing like actor. Like I can't relate.
Well, that's like his real life stuff. And as the Doctor, you know, just he's insane. He's insane, and just always kind of doing something silly.
But actually, his, like you mentioned, the physical weirdness of him and his comedic presence. That's actually what led to Dr. Puppet, really, because, well, not the only thing, but one of the things, because like the origin of Dr. Puppet, which is a very long story, so I'll condense it, is that I was teaching a puppet making and animation class. I taught that for a couple semesters at University of the Arts in Philadelphia, and I would make a puppet along with my class. And that was around when I was like really getting into Doctor Who. And I thought it'd be really fun to make a puppet of Matt Smith because he kind of was weird. And I thought that his presence really lent itself. He's lanky, he's got like a really unique face. So I wanted to just find that, you know, capture that presence in a puppet. So that kind of inspired me. So I made that puppet for the class. I mean, maybe I would have made it without the class, but I kind of think that that is what led me to make the puppet because I just wanted to make a puppet. So then one thing led to another, and Dr. Puppet happened. But that's where the puppet came from. And it was Matt Smith's presence. Maybe a couple years later, Peter Capaldi would have inspired the same thing. But he also has like a really unique presence. He's the vampire doctor, or the velociraptor, because he's all angles, and he's always, like, his posture is like this. He's like, he's always got bent elbow up, wrist. He's very snake-like. Again, Aaron especially has really, we analyzed his movements, because that's what you have to do as an animator. You're basically an actor, but instead of your body moving, it's the puppet. So you have to capture that, you know, those things, and you have to think about, but because it's animation, you have to make everything more exaggerated. One of the principles of animation. So it's finding that, you know, for Matt Smith, it's like being off balance, the giraffe thing, and Peter Capaldi like pointed and focused, and there's always like attention, and his elbows are pointing where his face is pointing.
Let me just I always ask this to all the artists, and you know, what got you into art and animation? Was it a childhood thing? Was it something you discovered later on in life?
It was always there. I always loved animation. I mean, just like most kids, but I never like grew out of it. I mean, I always loved, you know, Disney, Nickelodeon. I mean, I said I didn't watch, you know, 90s television except Nickelodeon. That was like, I watched, you know, Nicktoons. I mean, I literally remember the first day Nicktoons broadcast ever. I remember the promos leading up to it, and I was 6 years old, and I was super, super excited. And I remember sitting on my parents' bed and watching the first day of Doug, Rugrats, and Ren Stimpy, which were the first three original, and I watched them the first time they ever aired. So, you know, I was super into animation, and, you know, it took me a while. There was that transition from, like, just liking it. I mean, I guess this goes with Doctor Who, too. It's like that transition from liking something, being a fan, and then suddenly realizing that you want to be more involved. And so for me, that was, like, high school age, where I actually, for years, I wanted to be a scientist, and that was like my big path in life. So I was taking AP science classes, I was doing independent research. Like, I was the serious science kid, right? If you ran into me my freshman year of high school, I would have told you I wanted to be a zoologist. But then around junior year of high school, I realized that I loved science, but more in like, you know, I was a fan of science, but I didn't want to do science. But I did want to do animation. So luckily, I realized that before I pursued science and had to change my major in college. So that was kind of my journey. And I mean, animation, I just like that it involves storytelling, which is, I think, why I like science too, because a lot of science is about, you know, stories, really. Especially in biology and zoology. It's a lot of, you know, you learn the history of something, and I love that. So I think that's why I like science fiction too, because it's kind of like that, but even more story. But the other thing that really pushed me to pursue animation and go to art school was actually the behind the scenes documentaries on Lord of the Rings. Seeing that was like the final straw for me. I think I was leaning towards animation and wanting to do that. And I mean, I think people might not realize how impactful those behind the scenes documentaries were for like someone like me who was like in high school and thinking about doing art, and because it showed the behind the scenes process in so much detail. You know, you saw the guy whose full-time job was to make chainmail. So it really revealed that this could be a viable career opportunity for someone, that you could work on a movie, or, you know, you could be an animator, be a prop maker, that this was all possible. So that was kind of like, and I guess, you know, my parents were okay with it when I said, I don't want to go to school for biology anymore. I want to go to art school and make puppets. They were fine with it, maybe. But that was my journey. Yeah, and I never stopped, you know, watching Disney movies and stuff, and I still do.
No, that's great. It's actually funny that you say the behind the scenes is not true. When I was a kid, you know, I loved comics, animation, whatever. I just drew like crazy. But when I wanted to learn how to animate, I used to record cartoons, playing back on my VCR, and try to play them back in slow motion to see if I could figure out. This is when I was real little. How animation
these days have it so good.
What?
Kids these days have it so good. They
can
just
exactly. But
I mean, I didn't even have that stuff.
But what it was for me were like watching the behind the scenes, like television shows would like news channels and stuff would be like, oh, the Little Mermaid's coming out, let's go behind the scenes, and I'd watch those things like crazy. And that's what it was like. I started learning how people were able to do it. I got the books, I got equipment, and I taught myself how to animate, you know.
So cool.
That like at 18 I got my first gig doing character design. Within a few months I was animating.
Where did you work?
It was a small educational gaming company for kids. It was literally like 6 employees when it first started out. And the company only lasted about 2 or 3 years. I worked for them on and off for the full time. For the full time they were open, but I did about a year regular with them. And it was fun. And I was doing it on computers, using the Adobe stuff. There was a program you probably don't even remember called Director, which
I took a director class when I was 17 at Westchester Community College.
That's where I took it. That's where I got my associate. So you probably
that was like 2000 or 2001. I took a class there and I learned Director, which doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. I took that class in '94, and that's what got me the gig and stuff. But yeah, so it's it's interesting how, you know, when you talk to artists, animators, we all kind of have a similar story. And I always love to hear, because sometimes the path isn't always the same. Like you said, you were a science person. You know, you don't really always hear that, you know. So it's nice to hear how people got, you know, how their story kind of moves around, you know.
Yeah. It's always like that inspiration. And I'm so like, all the kids these days, it's so much easier to find behind the scenes stuff to learn.
Exactly.
If you want to know how to do something, you can just find it on the internet. If you want to animate, you can just download an app on your iPhone. If you want to do stop motion, the software and the app I can put on my iPhone that's free is better than what I used when I was in college. Which, I mean, I'm getting on in years, but still, like, that's how much like things have changed. That kids these days, they have it so easy with
I've taught kids. I teach them sometimes Adobe Animate, After Effects, all that stuff, and I do traditional stuff, whatever. But I want to just quickly. I'm sorry, Shirley. Did you have something to say?
No.
I thought you were going to say something.
No, I think this is fascinating for me. I love it.
I actually want to give Alisa the screen so we could see her puppets larger. Ooh. So you're going to have the entire screen now.
I'll hold them up. Oh,
so hold them up there.
Oh, let me turn this light off. They're a little. Oh no, now it's too dark. I have this new apartment has a big flaw, which is that the lighting is awful.
It's okay. You can see that.
Can we see?
Can you turn Capaldi? Yeah.
There we go. There they are. Sorry, they're a little blown out, but yeah, here they are. So these costumes, I made both these costumes myself. I know an amazing costumer named Amanda, and she made a lot of the costumes for a while. She was making them, but some of the, if I had enough time to make it myself, I would. It would just take me like 3 weeks to make it, and it would take her a weekend. But here they are. Yeah, so they're wire armature puppets. Mm-hmm. So they're all totally posable. And if something breaks, I can actually just pull out whatever limb breaks. So they're totally modular.
So it's like a ball and socket type of pull?
It's not even that fancy. No, it's like, here, I can actually pull his head off to demonstrate. Yoink. So,
okay.
So there's a little brass square. And then in his head, there is a bigger piece of square brass, which is embedded in there. So the smaller one just plugs into the bigger one. It's like, there you go.
Do you do it how like Nightmare Before Christmas, where each head has a different expression, or?
Not even that fancy. So that's called replacement animation. So that's when, like, Jack Skellington is the most famous example. They would pop his head up. So there was something like 120 different faces for him. And Leica does that now too for all their films, like Coraline and Paranorman, but they 3D print them. So instead of having like only 120, they basically print a unique one for every frame. So there'll be like 20,000 or 50,000. I don't know. I'm more into like limited animation. So this isn't even as fancy as Jack Skellington. He's got one head. If you want to change his face, this is a sticker. So you can see it will come right off. Bam. So, and as far as their eyes never really change. They don't really blink very much. If you watch Dr. Puppet, occasionally they blink because like we had to have the 11th Doctor sleep once, so he had to blink. And another time he had to be really, really sad. So it felt weird that his eyes were open while he was sad. So to do that, we just have to do it in After Effects, which is the compositing software that I use. So I just have to go in and just like paint over his eyelid basically and pretend he has one. So they're really not fancy. This is honestly a super easy kind of puppet to make. It's not sophisticated at all, but it does the job. And best of all, I can make it in my apartment because I don't need any really serious equipment. It's just literally a wire. This is very little wire left, but it's this spool of wire.
Yeah, it's funny that you're showing this because I was just talking with a friend today. I'm not going to say names right now, but she sent me a picture of some like pipe cleaner figures she made, which was really cool. And one reminded me of one of my characters. And I said, I said to myself, I need to build a pipe cleaner puppet like character that I can move just as a test, and then go into After Effects and animate eye blinks and mouth movements on it. And I'm like, and you're basically doing it, saying.
Yeah, I mean, for the mouths, like I said, they change expressions. They don't really talk much, so we don't have to do a lot of lip sync. But they have they talked a few times. The most lip sync we ever did was that actually I got interviewed for this BBC documentary called Earth Conquest, which is on the Series 8 DVD, and it was about like the world tour that they did. And they interviewed me, and then after the interview, the producer said, if we got Peter Capaldi to read some lines, would you animate them? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Like that's so much work. And of course they did. So they got Peter and Jenna Coleman to do lines, and then Aaron animated them, and then I did the lip sync. We didn't have enough time to cut all the custom mouths that we would have needed for the lip sync, so she animated them without any mouths, and then I had to add the mouths in After Effects, and I used the eyeballs to track their face and slap the mouth on. I don't think you can really tell because they're black shapes, but that's it's a lot of work. I wouldn't say yes to animating for free like that again, but it was Peter Capaldi in 2014, so of course we said yes.
Exactly. All right, I want to ask Shirley a question now because we got a really fun question that I was actually going to ask her. This is from Don Smith again. Serious question to the Doctor Who restaurant. Has she ever thought of doing YouTube videos on I guess cooking in the kitchen at a Doctor Who restaurant?
It has been brought up. I'm really not so sure what I would do. I mean, the food. I'm really not sure how that would work. I would need input from more people to see what they want. And then hey, you want it, I'll try and do it, but as long as I've got an audience out there for something, I will try and please and do what I can.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask the same question because I actually love cooking. To get myself out of the studio, it's being in the kitchen for me usually. I love to cook, and I worked as a grill cook while I was still at that other animation job and stuff, paying my bills until I went full-time in art, which was probably I was about 22, I think, when I did that full-time. But I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and sometimes it's fun. Like, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and there's always people out there putting videos together of Lord of the Rings based food, I'll never make it, but I watch because it's fun. Don just said, I would say just do a regular burger or dish or something, something simple from your menu.
Yeah.
I probably could come up with something. I probably could. There's some interesting items that I think I'd be interested in doing. So yeah, we'll see what we can do about that.
Well, I look forward to it if it happens.
Yeah.
So, I'm just checking the time. This is usually about an hour, so we got about another 15-20 minutes or so. So let's go to Shirley. I was going to ask, because I love the prop replica stuff so much, are you planning to add more? And would you feel free to give a pitch to the artist doing it, because it is fantastic work? Like a little plug to him, not a pitch. But.
Joel Goss is my prop maker. He did the silence, which most people don't even remember. He also did the crack in the wall. He did the oud, and also the props, the memorabilia that are in the showcase, and the church at Ovea and the Crofea sketch that went along with that. So those are the items that he's done. They're fantastic. And he put his heart and soul into it, just as a fan. He was just absolutely wonderful. Some of the other props I did myself, the hand mines, I did the vases, I did the evil snowmen, table things I did. Yeah, I like to get my hands dirty on that too, but Joel has done the really complicated big stuff. So yeah, we're really grateful to him, definitely. And it was Oh my gosh, we're going back a few years, and I'm having a brain freeze. On Angel did from Air Designs in Beacon. He did the TARDIS door for the bathroom. So yeah, we're grateful to him too, because without him spreading the word, this never would have happened.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
great.
Air Design, that's the company.
Don has another thought. I don't know how well this will go over with you, Alisa. Or better yet, do a cooking video, Alisa, and to make the puppet version of that.
I'm retired for now, but I'm not going to say never. But
well, I watched one of your older videos. I think it was from 2018. Because I was, I always do my research before I have anyone come on, and it said when you originally started in this, I may have not remembered because I found you when you were doing the animations, but you started doing these as like just photographic scenes. You were just setting up the puppets as scenes, went into animation, and then was it 2018? I guess it was. You did the cover to a Doctor Who comic for the first appearance of.
Right here.
Yeah.
Look, I can just pull it off my wall. There it is.
Okay. So. That's right. That's kind of like the. Was that kind of like based off the promo art that we saw?
Exactly. Yeah. So what happened was this was the first. This was like the costume reveal for the 13th Doctor. Yeah. So that came out. I had when she was announced, I made her head.
I'm sorry. Let me give you the screen because I like to see the puppets up close. So.
Yeah. There you go. When she was announced, which was. Oh God, 2017? Was it that long ago? I think it was. Was it? Well, I don't
remember, to be honest. Well, she just finished her second season, correct?
Yeah, I think it was 2017. So when she was announced as the new Doctor, like as soon as I knew it was that it was going to be Jodie Whittaker, I sculpted her head and I made her hair like it was in the promo, but I kind of made it longer because I knew that wasn't going to be her final look, but I figured they wouldn't change too much. Like she just might get a trim. That's kind of what happened with Peter Capaldi too. So I made her head and then I kind of just kept the head by itself. And then when her costume was revealed, that was the promo photo with the costume and like the final look reveal. So I recreated it with the puppet, which was pretty easy to do because I already had the fake grass and the TARDIS and everything, and I just shot it against a green screen, and then I painted the sky in Photoshop. And this was like the beginning of February when I put that all together. And then I realized that I had enough time before Gallifrey 1, this is the first year I ever went, to put that onto a postcard. So I went to Gallifrey 1 with that image, my recreation of the promo at Galley, and I gave it out to lots of people. And I got really cheeky and I gave it to the people at Titan Comics, and I was like, if you ever want a cover, and they wanted it. So kind of worked out. So that's how that happened. But I've recreated other promo images too. I think this is my best one, so I'll probably retire again on that one. I also recreated the Peter Capaldi promo image with his costume reveal, which was just, you might remember, he didn't have this costume, of course. He had the blue, but it was like him going like, well, not quite that, but he had his arm out. He was like striking the weird, more like that pose. So I recreated that one, but honestly, looking back, I hate it. I did a really bad job. So that's why that one didn't get on the cover of a comic. But it's still fun to recreate them, and it's also a lot easier than animating them. So yeah. I'm retired, but if like the 14th Doctor gets announced next year, I'll probably make the 14th Doctor, but I'm not going to animate them. I've not animated 13 either. She's my only puppet that has never been animated. So, I made her, but, unfortunately, I'd already decided before she was announced that I wasn't doing anything with 13. Even when we knew Peter was leaving, I knew I was leaving too. So, cheers.
So let me ask you, Alisa first, then I'm going to go to Shirley. I'm going to ask you guys a question, but Alisa, just staying on that topic, you said if the 14th gets announced next year, you'll probably make a puppet of that one. I'm not following any news. Is Jodie's character coming to an end? Is her run ending that you know of, or?
I mean, I'm just going by the rule of 3 seasons, which seems to be the norm. I mean, I'm fine with that. I mean, I really love Peter. I mean, I honestly really wanted to see another season with Peter, and I have a feeling we might have gotten one. I heard that Peter, he has like a bad back, and it was really too difficult for him. So that, even if he wanted to do another season, it's a very taxing role. So I know it was really hard for him. So
Well,
I like 3 seasons in general, though. I feel like then I'm ready for something new.
Yeah, I remember, what was it? What was it? When all the doctors met. What was that episode? I can't remember name.
Doctor?
What?
Day of the Doctor?
The Day of the Doctor. That's it.
The Doctor.
At the end, you see Matt Smith talking to the other. I'm blanking on his name again. The old doctor, and he says that you might be revisiting. Yeah, Tom Baker. You might be revisiting. So I was always hoping they would do a show where every now and then it's just some of the old doctors come back just for solo stories. That's always been kind of like a dream for me.
I would love Peter to come back for. I mean, we're crazy things. We're getting kind of close to the 60th. So.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure Peter. I mean, it's Doctor Who is so special to him, and he's such a nerd. He's such an adorable nerd. There's just no way he wouldn't come back. I think, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. He's a very in-demand guy now.
I gotta ask both of you this. I'm sorry. What? Did you have a? Were you gonna?
I always had a theory of how doctors can come back.
Yeah.
Because, as we know, Peter played in the first Pompeii episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then in Deep Breath said, he recalled that he had gotten this face from someone that existed. So obviously, not obviously, we think that all the doctors got their faces from a real person.
Mm-hmm.
That real person is aging. So any of the doctors, Matt Smith, Peter, David Tennant, Peter Capaldi, they can all come back as the person that they were that the doctor chose the face from.
Yeah.
So not the doctor, but the character. So they could all come back that way because they've all now for them to come back as doctors, they look completely different, and the doctor really, unless it's hundreds of years, doesn't age.
Imagine if they announced Peter's coming back, but it's to play. I can't remember his name. Cecile, the Roman guy. No, not Roman. The guy from Pompeii.
Yeah,
if he comes back to play him.
Yeah.
But they should have had the 12th Doctor visit him, and then Peter could play dual roles. Oh, why didn't they do that?
We got a comment from Martin Bend, who says Big Finish does that on their audiobooks. So I guess I'm not too familiar. I don't listen to the audiobooks. I guess they do the Doctor Who audiobooks.
They do radio dramas. So they get the actors back, and it's canon. It's
Yeah. Okay, we only got a few minutes left, and I just really wanted to ask, because we haven't really talked about Jodie Whittaker in the role, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, because there was a lot of controversy on her taking over. It was the first time we saw a female doctor, and how did, I'll just give quickly my opinion. I was excited when I heard, because I like her as an actress, but it took me a little bit I felt her story really wasn't there until close to the end of the first season, when I was like, okay, she's a doctor to me now, but I felt the stories were kind of weak in the beginning, how did you guys feel about Jodie and her story?
Well, I felt that the writers did her a disservice by putting her in the back seat and having her companions do the stories.
Yeah,
and she was just there almost as a co-star instead of the actual star of the show.
And that might have been my problem.
They did better this year. I'm sorry?
I said that probably is my problem. It was too much companion focused, but Go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't mind Amy and Rory. They did really great, but it was still Matt Smith as the center of the show.
Yeah.
They were still, just characters that were supporting him. They reversed it, and I, it's this whole female is not in the forefront feeling that I still get from a lot of British television. Except the detective dramas, they tend to have very good female detectives.
I mean,
but in the second season,
I kind of agree that I think she's amazing. I think I've really enjoyed her other work, and I've enjoyed Chris Chibnall's other work. I love her look and her costume. I think Ray Holmes, the costume designer, did an amazing job creating this kind of, completely amazing, unique costume that totally suits her. But like, it hasn't. Her seasons have not resonated with me, which makes me sad because I want them to. But I think for me, it's I think everything you said, I agree. But I am a positive person. If I don't like something, I don't interfere with other people liking it. Yeah. So they might not be my favorite seasons, but there's lots of seasons that I don't like. So hers are not even my least favorite. So it's fine. I hope that, it changes, but because what I wanted, maybe this is my own fault, because when I found out that Chris Chibnall was going to be the showrunner, and then I found out Jodie Whittaker was going to be the doctor, I just wanted like a space caper, like Broadchurch, and it's not that. So maybe my own brain, kind of went to a place, and that I was ultimately always going to be disappointed by, because I can't have my dream Doctor Who series. But I think Chibnall is really good at doing like very serialized long form with cliffhangers. And what made me the most angry about series 11 is that there were no cliffhangers, and that's what Chibnall does the best. So that just confused me. So I just feel like Chibnall was trying to make it the anti-Broadchurch, maybe? I'm not sure. But I kind of wish he had made it more like Broadchurch and just done like, imagine a Doctor Who season that's one murder mystery, like, right? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a bad idea. I don't know. I'm not the showrunner, but I'm still gonna watch series. What are we up to?
I don't know.
Series 13. Yeah. Of course, I'm super excited for it. It's not gonna, I'm gonna watch no matter what. It's Doctor Who, even if it's like not my favorite season. It's not gonna stop me.
I'm gonna agree with you there. I continue. Like I said, I'm a few episodes behind of finishing, and it finished like 2 months ago or something. Right, and
April.
I just haven't had the schedule, but also March. Okay, so I haven't had the schedule, but also like I said, the storytelling I feel is a little weaker for her, and I really wanted it to be stronger. So having that drive to finish hasn't been there. But I kind of want to see. I have to see how it ends.
This current season was way better than the last season.
I know. I
agree. And if you want your cliffhanger this season.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you there. I still felt like, I don't know, maybe it just wasn't like hitting in the right spot, but I can't deny that stuff happened, which is what a lot of people complain that they didn't like about Series 11 was nothing happened. And this, so much happened.
Nothing happened.
Lots happened. So, and there were some great cliffhangers. I thought that, really the season opener, I think, might have been my favorite thing. And that had a great cliffhanger. So it was a little more Broadchurchy. So I was pleased with that.
No, I don't disagree. The beginning of the season was fantastic. Anyway, we're coming down to the end of our time. So I'm going to put your social medias back up again. Anything, Shirley, you'd like to promote besides this, or
just the reopening and hopefully our anniversary event. Everything that I do gets posted on Facebook first and then goes to my webpage.
Okay.
It's just, Facebook is so much easier to just throw it on.
Yeah.
So everything will go there first, and Instagram, Twitter will pick that up, and then it goes onto my webpage within a week.
Yeah.
But first dibs, Facebook.
All right, guys. So make sure to follow the Facebook page and check out her website and look for a grand reopening. All right. And Alisa, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You got the Hello Dr. Puppet on YouTube. Anywhere else or anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I've got all the normal social media handles, like the Instagram and Twitter have kind of slowly devolved into my own personal Instagram and Twitter. So occasionally there's puppet content, but recently it's been more like, I don't even know, like whatever. I've been walking around Brooklyn, taking photos of interesting graffiti I see, things like that. So, you can find Dr. Puppet basically all over the place. And it'll be a mixed bag of puppet content and other stuff. But all of the stuff you probably want to see is on YouTube. Go to this channel, or you can just search Dr. Puppet. If you want the easiest way to digest Dr. Puppet is go find the playlist that says the Dr. Puppet Adventure. I don't know, and the episodes have numbers that says episode 1, episode 2, etc. Watch that, because that is an 8-part serialized story. As I mentioned before, I alluded to enjoying Broadchurch. I'm a big fan of serialized storytelling, so Dr. Puppet is serialized over 8 episodes. But Siri thought I said her name, but I said serialized. I also have so much other stuff. We made 6 Christmas specials, so those are in a separate playlist. It's tons of Doctor Who and stop motion animation. If that tickles your fancy, I got it, and basically the only person who has it. So come watch.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both for joining us. I'm going to put you guys backstage. You can hang out just for a minute. I'll do my closing and sign off, and then I just want to talk to you guys real quick backstage.
Sure. All right, thanks.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Whoops, wrong one. There you go. There you go. All right, guys. So thank you for tuning into tonight's IncrediChat. I had a lot of fun. I always love talking about Doctor Who, science fiction, art, food. I mean, it was the perfect night for me here. So we'll be back tomorrow night with my Get in Tune, where I'm unfortunately my guest had to reschedule for later. We'll have him back in July, so I'm going to be doing a drawing night where you guys can give me stuff to draw, and I'll be happy to draw it. And Thursday night, Mike and I will be back with another IncrediChat. So thanks for tuning in tonight, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great night.